To me, land care is community. So what you're going to hear today is a lot more about from a community perspective of what community has done in terms of waterway restoration. Land care about communities, community connect nature. And part of what I just did then was to say that community comes in all shapes, sizes, backgrounds, desires, and we must learn to embrace it all. Our role as land care organisations is to support community in that desire to connect with nature. This project that I'm going to talk to you about was a wonderful opportunity to use community and work for our waterways. And I'll add a phrase that was used earlier today about one bit at a time. And I think some of the questions we've heard today, and one of the questions there back to Mark was, how much impact really you're having? Well, one bit at a time. Unashamedly, this talk is not going to be highly principled or strategic. Really, I'm just going to try and show off what the wonderful team that's involved in this project has achieved in a pretty short period of time. There'll be a few comments about collaboration. It's in the title there. It's about a collaborative model, and I'm going to try and keep it all pretty positive. Needless to say, we've had some bumps in the road. We'll continue to have some bumps in the road, so we're all on a journey of collaboration to achieve some goals. Part of that journey is, for me, there's been a personal journey about engaging with Aboriginal people. And so Wally's going to join me later on in this presentation to give his perspective on the parts of this journey too. So the project was funded through the Commonwealth Urban Rivers program. It's about improving water quality, restoring habitat, improving the urban green spaces, and the community's access to it. It's there to protect a range of threatened species. And if my notes had come up, I could tell you those particular species. But it's really about community and waterways. And it's over a 3-year period, $2.7 million shared between ourselves and partners. The partners, ourselves as the lead agent or lead contractor on this program, but we also have Burra Ngunnawal Aboriginal Corporation, Ginninderra Catchment Group, Molonglo Conservation Group and Southern ACT Catchment Group. While we hold the contract, I very much see this as a partnership, and we've tried to empower our partners to deliver. So the key messages around collaboration for me are we have to collaborate, work together right from beginning to end, and that includes the rough patches. But pretty much for me, it's about getting on the same page and then communicate. Yes, it takes time, but it's really critical that you have those open communication pathways. What we were trying to achieve, we started with 15 sites. Again, this is, in my view, a lot of this happened before I arrived, but it was about empowering our partners to select the sites based on priority, using their local knowledge. With those 15 sites there that are on the map, Wally and his team did Aboriginal cultural assessments across all 15 sites to ensure that the on-ground works that we wanted to do were culturally appropriate and to protect those culturally significant sites. So you can see on the map there's 5 up in the north in the Ginninderra catchment, 5 around Molonglo, 4 of those around Jera wetlands and one there closer to Queanbeyan, and then there's 4 in the south there. Here's a closer look up. 4 in the south there on the Murrumbidgee and 1 on Tuggeranong Creek. And I'm just going to try and give you a zoom in there, and with the images on the right there, give you a feel of what the sites would look like. And so this is Molonglo. Janine will correct me if I'm wrong, but this is out near Jera wetlands. Duntroon on the other side? Yeah. And the Murrumbidgee sites are fairly typical of that part of the world. This is a land care project, so it's unashamedly about using volunteer power and the community to be part of what we've done on the whole journey. And so the community is actively involved in virtually every stage. The first area of work was remediation of riparian areas, which is code for let's revegetate. So this site you see again down at Jera wetlands, one of those 15 sites where quite a bit of weed removal was done and then the revegetation. It's essentially planting native vegetation in those locations where it should be present. Often impossible to know what should have been there, but we use our best knowledge that we have, and therefore plant a range of species using to build back that habitat, stabilised soil using their volunteers. One of the things about project management is these set of green tables that we refer to in the team as how we report. And so quarterly we report to our funders, but this reporting process has been about that communication, and it's evolved. We've got these green tables every quarter that's updated. How much have we done? How much are we meant to be done? And how much is the total target? So you can see that here. And the unashamed good news story is how we're tracking. So right now we should have been, these numbers for end of March, we should have done 10.89 hectares of remediation. We've done 15.5. And by the time we finish the on-ground works in March next year, we should have done 22.7. So we're well ahead in our remediation work. In terms of weed removal, basically getting rid of a range of weedy species. Many of our sites have been overrun with various weeds from blackberry, privet and sweetbriar. And the removal technique, well, that depends on what the landscape you're in and the type of weeds you're removing. So I've done all sorts of different aspects there. The weeds on sites, at each site, there's been flora and fauna monitoring, and that will go through the life of the project, so we know what was there before we started and where we got to at the end. And again, in terms of weeds, well, the team's knocked it out of the park. We're already way over the area that we've been contracted to deliver. Debris removal, another facet of the program where volunteers have really focused in this area when it comes to this. Have all worked in the river, on the riverbanks, removing any sort of rubbish that they can find, even getting out in boats to remove stuff. There's a huge amount of pollution that's been removed, and I think we've used there is, believe it or not, a standard to estimate when you remove a volume of waste, what that means in terms of weight. So the estimate apparently is about 4 tonnes of removal from those 15 sites. And again, we're well ahead, in fact already exceeded the total project targets. Erosion control, again the methods are often vary. So far we've used placement of rocks and coir logs, vegetation planting with deep roots, fencing off, all the things you've heard about today, they're all involved in this project. Depending on the site, obviously the erosion control is critical for that improvement of water quality. And well on track, ahead of target where we should be now. Still a fair bit to go. I know there's a lot of work being done currently in this space. Community engagement. So obviously very important part of this funding is community engagement to raise, not just have volunteers active on the ground and learning about what they're doing, but raising more awareness generally about the importance of our waterways in the bush capital, the importance of water quality for protecting threatened species, the importance of engaging in nature. So community engagement events are really an important part of that project, They may include just going on nature walks, they may be celebrations, and they of course may be joining in on delivering, whether it's planting or weeding or debris removal. So far we've done more than the requirement in this space. I think collectively as a team we feel it's really important to raise that community awareness. We've been talking about connection to nature and having people involved right through today, and that philosophy is shared amongst the team about doing that. So we've really put a lot of emphasis into this area. The next part to talk about is our Aboriginal-led deliverables, and our partner, as I said, is Burrununul Aboriginal Corporation, with Wally leading that. Quickly, Wally, before I grab you up here, what is in our contracts, and our contracts do constrain us but also empower us, is the cultural heritage assessments I touched on earlier. We've also got a series of traditional land management practices where we're trying to work as a team to make sure we account for and take into consideration how we'd like those traditional practices to be done. Wally's gone over and above and has continued to look at the cultural aspects of those sites as we go through, and involved in community engagement. And then of course we've got Melissa Bell developed the logo, which in itself is it's a great logo for us. We love it, but in itself it shows some of the challenges of working under contracts. We had this wonderful logo in our contract where the Commonwealth says every bit of IP we produce in the project the Commonwealth can use for whatever they like. Now this is just not appropriate for an Aboriginal owned artwork, and so one of our roles as Landcare ACT was to have a negotiation with the ACT government and then with the Commonwealth about making sure that IP was protected to Melissa. So these are the things that you do to collaborate in projects, and we got the right outcome there. Wally, do you want to chat now, good, the bad, the ugly, on the project from your perspective?
Yeah, Janyamaba, thank you, Michael. I'll just start off by saying Janyamaba, thank you, to Landcare ACT for engaging us as a separate entity. Now that's something that's never happened before. A lot of our cultural heritage works that we do come under other groups, such as all the catchment groups and whichever organisation is doing cultural heritage management work or whatever. We're actually operating as our own organisation, totally separate to everything else. So we have our own control ourselves. And it's the first time it's ever happened in all the years I've been doing cultural heritage management work. So I'm just going to, because we're engaged to look after the culture on country, and we enjoy doing that part of the process. But we want people also to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So working together for the Upper Urban Waterways project was quite a great experience for us. So the Aboriginal people of Australia, we have practiced a sophisticated, sustainable land management for whatever time period you want to put on it. But like we've been here, Ngunnawal people, for 25 to 26,000 years. So we've been doing that sort of thing for that period of time. So we've been integrating ecological knowledge, cultural beliefs and cultural techniques, such as our cool burning, seasonal resource management and habitat stewardship. So our key practices, of course, would be our fire management, our cool burn processes. So they're Indigenous Australians use controlled low-intensity fires, often called fire stick farming or cool burning, to manage vegetation, reduce fuel for wildfires and promote the growth of native grasses and plants. These burns are often done in what's known as mosaic burning, so that the creates a good environment for trees and grasslands to regenerate. So it also supports our biodiversity and attracting animals such as kangaroos and other food sources for us. So the main aim though is to decrease the intensity of bushfires. Sustainable farming and resource use, that's always been part of our traditional land management. So we do a lot of cultivating and sowing and storing of seed as well. We do a lot of in-water works as well, such as fish traps and things like that, to once again make a food source. Now these methods allowed communities to harvest food sustainably without exploiting those resources. Permanent fences were rarely used. So, you know, that's something to think about when you put in fences and stuff like that. It totally affects the landscape that you're in. Natural boundaries is how we went about it. So, you know, when you look at the natural environment, you'll see that the fauna that move around on country and create their own sort of boundaries in itself. You know, they'll find ways through thick scrub and stuff like that. So, you know, that's the natural boundaries that we're talking about in relation to the natural landscape. So we also look at country from a holistic point of view. So land management was deeply connected with the spiritual beliefs and cultural practices. Caring for country involved maintaining harmony with the natural environment across generations. So it's always information that gets passed down through generations. And that's why, you know, like you might have seen somebody doing something, you know, a really long time ago, or, you know, your past generations might have seen it being done. And it is still done that way today. It's probably best practice. So with our connecting up with Landcare ACT, they're actually recognising the value of our knowledge in relation to land management practices. And it's something that we genuinely like to keep passing on. We need people to know about how to look after country itself, and using the techniques that we've been using for thousands of years. Traditional land management practices have shaped Australia's landscapes, you know, promoting biodiversity, soil health and sustainable food systems. They demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of natural cycles, seasonal change, although, you know, we don't have the traditional 4 seasons of Europeans, of course. We have different seasonal patterns. And interaction with the different species, you know, out there on country as well. So in summary, the traditional land management in Australia combines ecological knowledge, cultural values and practical techniques to sustain landscapes, support biodiversity and maintain a deep connection between people and country, forming a foundation for both historical and contemporary environmental stewardship. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot.
At a personal level, I think I said we're all on a journey, and for me, a journey of working with Wally, where his passion for country is very obvious, and his patience for those of us who don't understand quite as much is gratefully received. So TMPs Wally's talked about, but also we're all learning, and part of that journey, for example, about culturally safe materials and extra monitoring to ensure compliance has been a wonderful journey. But I'd also be remiss not to talk about the communication tools that we've developed, or products that we've developed. In particular, I'd love you to go to the website, and the one on the right there is Uncle Wally's story about his connection to water and the Ngunnawal connection, which is a very powerful message. We've got lots of those sorts of communications to raise awareness. As an example of other things that we're doing, we're just about to start printing a range of just stickers highlighting some of the species that we want to protect, just for distribution, to just, again, raise awareness of the importance of healthy waterways. So there's the 3 stickers that are coming out soon. Insights on collaboration, to try and wind this back up to the title. Let's not hide from the fact that we had a pretty rough start in this project with timing of contracts and personnel change and whatnot. Not everybody was on the same page, and I started by saying it's really critical that they are getting on the same page. It took a lot of hard work and communication to get there, and empowerment and treating it as a partnership. But I think that communication is critical. Then we got very clear about alignment of goals, though it's still not perfect. I put in the slide there co-design, because there was a whole bunch of co-design, I think, done with varying levels of understanding and sharing, but is really important in a project, a collaborative project like that, where you get that co-design to get to a shared alignment of what you want to do and have those shared understandings of how you want to work in that partnership. And I'd say, yeah, we're kicking goals. 12 months to go before we finally report to the government, both governments, ACT and Commonwealth. We're delivering extra, we're creating impact. One of the things that through this project that I would have loved to see is actually measuring the genuine impact. I think we're doing a great job and have built our capacity to measure outputs, but not outcomes. I'd love to know what the outcomes are ultimately, but when you're doing bit by bit, it's difficult. The other thing is, I think it's going to be really critical that we keep telling the stories, so that it's not just about numbers on a page. I highlighted those lovely green tables, which ultimately feed into the government's merit system, which is painful and awful to use. More importantly is that we tell the stories of what we've been doing. And I will leave it there. Thank you.